And welcome to the Claude Coast. It is scorchingly hot, both in and out of game. You guys have been soaring across the desert, the stifling heat just making you slathered in sweat. Its sun is like a lamp you just can't turn off.
Is this in
Giant.
game or out?
That line has blurred. It's so blurry that you can't even see the Mirage Mountains up ahead. Feel faint. Feel like you're going to pass out any second. You need water, but not even that's enough. Feels like boiling liquid in your lungs. And okay, that's enough. You came to play D&D to escape that kind of reality. So, on your way here, you did see that the Venom pulled out the compass and has been trying to figure out where it's pointing to, but it does seem to aim itself in a westerly direction. And you've also, I have some recap notes. Remember, there is a strange ticking coming from it as well. That is ticking in the same sort of pace a clock would, but the hands are going back, leading carriers to theorize that it's perhaps some sort of countdown. Counting down to what, though? That is unknown. Okay. Here we go. Oh, yeah, prior to this, you went to the Kabira Museum to check out the Nine Muse exhibit once again. You met the clerk, Adwa, and she told you all about the various muses and their importance in the Gaidean society. And she also told you about the only individuals that have met the Sultan in the past 200 years. The Vizier, Malone, the Magus, Izzat, the Bounty Hunter, the Old Vizier, which recently passed away, and when I say recently, that was like 10 years ago still, and Nura al-Amar, who was apparently a bard of legend, one that rivaled the Muses' talents themselves. Andy pointed out that it's sort of similar to her last name, and also knows that Amar means a long and prosperous life. What else happened? Irina also had cast the Legend Lore spell and received a message in a gravely deep voice, like the tremors of the earth given words, and it said, "The stone mill grinds to a halt only when the sevenfold maze aligns. As one cave opens, the hidden fulcrum closes." And you theorize that the stone meal represents perhaps a planetary body, perhaps the moon. And Kashan also theorized that the sevenfold maze maybe represents the seven seas. But that's as far as you got in kind of deciphering that message. And let's see here. Oh, the last thing you discovered in the museum was the Sultan used the muses for inspiration for writing the Anthem of Fire, an epic poem recounting the war and victory of Gaidia. Part 2 was never fully released, and the print was cut short, so only a few books were ever kind of released into the public eye. Speaking of print, Llewellyn also published The Tales of the Four Seasons from the Boiling Inkwell, spending over 1,500 gold to have it shipped and sold worldwide, with all proceeds going to fund children in need everywhere across the globe. He gets one permanent light side point. Wait, no, that's Star Wars. And then finally, yeah, the Thaumatic Compass, pointing towards where you last saw that mirage-like tower. So that's everything. Cool. So you guys are still in flight and heading there. Let's see.
How long we got?
You spent like a good day flying. You wake up. You left like in mid-afternoon. So it's getting late right now.
Okay. I would like to scry.
Okay.
I want to find out what our other unknowing party is up to, Castellius and Zaf. To see if they're,
Right.
now that they've found it, seeing if they're, maybe if they're on the way back, or are they still there? What are they seeing there? Now that they're actually, if they're still on the islands, or just whatever's
Okay.
going on. So this is where we find out the islands are extremely inhospitable. And
Yeah, they definitely failed. So you can see that it looks as though they're in the process of surveying the small island. Well, it looked small from when you saw it from their last point of view. But as they're swooping through the continent now, you can see a huge kind of desert-like terrain on the west coast of this series of islands. It looks mostly uninhabited, but the desert is going to be a vast location. You could perhaps theorize that maybe there are settlements, but if there are, they don't seem to have a sprawling city like Gaidia stuck in the middle of the desert. It is you can see that they're like it's blisteringly hot there. By the looks, Castellius has to create food and water and just make it rain on himself to cool himself down. So it's a hot environment. But there's plenty of open land, that's for sure. Space. Space enough for at least a few dragons, maybe more. Seems even Zeph is kind of getting comfortable. Kind of like dives into the sand, into the earth, burrows through it, and then pops out from some other location. Kind of trying to like maybe surprise Castellius. Trying to like jump scare him. But yeah, for the most part, they seem to be enjoying it. It's the location they've been hunting this whole time.
so it's a good place. They've found that it would be decent for the dragons, and they're not quite on the way back yet.
No,
Probably more likely to be staying there for a bit longer.
quite possibly.
Okay, I let the rest of the party know this.
Okay.
Well, at least we know that it's suitable for them there. That sort of adds to our chance of getting to go once we give them this rock they've been after. Though, to be honest, at this point, I'm wondering why we don't just send them to the elemental plane of fire. It seems like they'd enjoy it there. They like the heat.
I can hear you, you know, and it's not just a rock.
Yeah,
Jurgen is the one
fine.
flying just alongside.
It's a very rare, valuable rock, but it's still a rock.
And elemental plane of fire? Are you kidding me? No way.
Well, I thought you liked hot weather. Is that why you
Well,
choose the desert?
the desert may be hot, but it's nowhere near the temperature of the elemental plane of fire. Let's be real. It's more of a red dragon thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Even then, I don't hear about red dragons in the city of Bra.
Well, I mean, do you hear about dragons in cities very often?
Well, the metallic ones.
Yeah, that's true.
It's getting late, by the way, and I don't fancy navigating at night, but it's your call. We can push on.
Oh,
Is there any dangers to navigating at night, other than potentially going the wrong way?
It would certainly be cooler.
Not at this altitude, but if he was walking, well, didn't you see the posters, the signs on the billboard? Said
Ah.
people have been kidnapped during the night by shadows in the desert.
well, then that gives us more reason not to stop. Not that I'm scared of any shadows, but you know.
Very well.
It would kind of suck if we all got kidnapped now when we're this close.
I mean, I can put the mansion up if that's what you guys would want.
That is true. Though, to be honest,
It's not a hotel anymore.
we left it. We left in the afternoon. You said, right?
Yeah. Just coming up to like midday, basically 12.
Yeah. To be honest, I feel we may be a bit stupid with our time of leaving. What we should have done is rested during the day, then done all the travel at night when it's cooler. But so if you're okay to push on for at least a little bit, Urian, that would be good.
Certainly. Though,
I mean, I can help keep an eye out, even if it's dark. So
Yeah, sure.
okay. He does seem to be getting it. Actually, no, with a plus 11 saving throw, Jesus. He's got 21 even on a 10. Yeah, he seems fine. His wingspan is so huge that he's kind of able to just glide on the wind, almost like an albatross, or just hovering the whole way. Karis, you're on your glaive. Makes it one less
Yep.
person to keep up as well.
I was about to say, if I pumped him with haste, would it be worth it after the haste stopped for him to be
The
stunned
whole-
for one round?
1 minute of flying in it. I think, yeah, stunned creature falls as well from the air, but it'd be kind of funny.
Let's go!
Probably not worth it.
And then at the end of the speed up, just will fall from 300 foot.
It's fine. I can feather fall as well. It's like when an airplane like starts to go down in a film and you have to pull it back up.
It just stalls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose
Anyway.
if that did happen, Lavelle can temporarily polymorph into a giant eagle and sort of prop up one wing and I'll prop up the other, and we'll just glide.
Something of note as well, Irina. For you, when you're traveling from Gaudia to the Mirage Mountains, this probably would have happened prior to this, but that's fine. This is a small retcon. But it's just you feel one side of your body is hotter than the other, and it's not due to perhaps sun, because it feels like an internal heat, and perhaps you've been baking for so long it's hard to differentiate candlewick from the sun, but you kind of definitely feel like an inner burn to one side of your body.
like, is it the side the scabbard is usually sat on?
Which side do you have your scabbard on?
She's right-handed, so on her left.
It's on her right, so it's not the scabbard side.
Okay.
Which means if you check by the map, it means it was somewhere in the north, which is a little odd, and it just perhaps gets your attention, but it doesn't feel like it's Candlewick trying to force you to do something. It just feels
But
like
is it
his attention
Candlewick?
is. You do know it's Candlewick, yeah, but it takes a moment to perhaps realize, and by the time you've kind of passed it, it's already like Candlewick's kind of gone back into the sheath. So, for just a briefest moment, it feels like maybe Candlewick's attention was pulled to something. But nonetheless, it seems as though he's not doing it anymore. It was just for a moment of the travel. And you've not asked about it since, so, because you've got this very important thing you need to deliver. So perhaps he hasn't either tried to grab your attention, or maybe it wasn't important in the first place. But it's just something of note. Okay, if you're pushing on throughout the night, everyone can roll a Constitution save. Nice.
You what? Now I'm gonna use my inspiration to that.
I really can't wait for when I have proficiency in all saving.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't
come
wanna be
on. Well,
Oof. Okay. Not good when you're about to do negotiations with dragons, but Llewellyn, you
What
do
a way.
suffer 1 point of exhaustion.
Llewellyn's not going to be doing the negotiation.
no,
Yeah.
probably not.
Okay.
You've got a
Probably
sorcerer and a warlock. We're not letting the wizard do it.
Hey, he got to talk. He got to speak to Primeval last time. He still needs something from you. Okay.
Oh yeah, I
done the last-
suppose the whole immortality promise thing.
The rest of you look like you're pretty okay. Not the first time you've done an all-nighter, but pushing on another night would definitely be a lot trickier. Thankfully, though, the cool air does alleviate the heat of the desert, and being up this high is actually a nice breeze as well, just sort of flooding through your hair, kind of keeping you awake for the most part. You don't just fall off. All right. Llewellyn does sort of like close his eyes for a moment, maybe slips off, but you don't notice that. It's all good. Just leave him behind.
No.
Alright. You dream you're falling, Llewellyn. No, you're okay.
And then I suddenly
Yeah.
dream I'm an eagle. And then
Yeah.
now I'm sleep eagling.
It's legal.
It's very
right.
legal.
So thankfully, Yuryu knows the way to go. You don't even need to navigate. You just sit back, relax. But as Yuryu begins to take a slow descent, looks like he's scanning the different mountaintops and trying to decipher where his clutch is. They don't have an obvious like layer within the mountain, kind of more nestled in between the canyon. And suddenly he takes a sharp left and then a sharp right, and you guys have to kind of hold on a bit tighter. And then he says, yes, I think we're coming in for landing. Make sure all your tray tables are in the upright position.
Wait, you guys have tray tables? What's on them?
They're the scales at the back there, the ones that fold out.
Oh, nice. Useful.
Yeah.
I start to.
Irina's just trying to translate the dragon book, just like holding down the paper so it's not flapping.
I start to push one of the scales upwards. I imagine it probably hurts.
Ah, God, that was a joke. Now, we're coming in. Hold on. All right, drag you on.
Shenanigans. Ooh.
I love how quick that is.
Ah, look at the load speed.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
When they go to, just because I can, when they go to sort of load, Karis is just going to jump off his glaive and alter self and flying squirrel down. Just because he can.
Okay. Yuryun's just sort of like looking you, surprised. He just has to make an impression, doesn't he? Can't do anything simple. It has to be flashy. but I can appreciate that. Let me just get to the door here. There we go. All right, so you swoop into the canyon opening, skid into the sand, letting out a plume. Some of it gets caught on the book that you have open, Irina, kind of like covering the pages in a coating of sand.
Shake.
Okay, and as he does that, you're also all kind of like ejected, but not like just falling flat on the floor. It's kind of like as he lands, you guys are basically landing on your own feet. You go from like a saddle position to suddenly like kind of jumping and falling onto your legs, and
Kind of like jet skis, but with sand.
yeah.
It's like
And as the plume of sand settles, you see that he is standing on his bipedal form, and he's sort of just brushing himself off. Yeah. Another happy landing.
Yep.
Now, come time to meet the family once again.
All right. Everybody ready for this?
Rita's just emptying sand out of her boots.
There's no use.
I've
You'll
got desert in there.
You'll be finding sand for months to come.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I
honestly,
think
you'll
I'm still
find.
finding sand from last time.
Yeah, you find sand in places you didn't even know you had.
Kashaw
Mhm.
looks over. Tell me about it.
Just like a cat rolling around in the dirt, just like.
You hear the sound of like a sand waterfall kind of just sifting down through the rocks, landing either side of you as you pass through the twisting canyon. And then there's the smell of ozone that fills the air once you come into the proper canyon kind of layer. The pillars are still there, half crumbled, and doesn't seem like there's any dragons about just yet. But Yuryun kind of steps forward, and out of his own mouth, you see a small static kind of building up. And then he shoots a lightning bolt forward and up and towards the two kind of cave tunnels in the distance. And as that crack goes off, it echoes and booms in the canyon, echoing all the way through, perhaps alerting all the other dragons
Why
who
don't
are
you
in
just
hiding.
knock?
Ding dong,
I think that
Avon
I-
calling.
I think that might be how blue dragons knock.
Seems a little excessive.
Oh, yeah.
It needs to be loud. These dragons are just waking up, remember? Very early in the morning. And it is.
And
It's
all
like,
the meaning to stay quiet, right?
fine. There's no
It's
reply
too
for a
late
little
now.
while. There's no reply for like a long while. And he's like,
I'm
Ugh.
sure they're in.
suddenly his face kind of
Will you
drops,
note?
and he's like, they better be in. If they're not, then he turns around, then they're already on their way to your home, Carius.
Wow.
It better bloody not be. We had a deal.
We are
Someone's
cutting
not
it
here.
fairly close.
Yes.
We still have a whole day.
Hmm. Hold on. He's gonna fly up and once again transform into a full dragon. And as he does that, yeah, look, sparkles. Anyway, he does this as he kind of like swoops up into the air. He this time, rather than launching some static electricity, he unleashes a full kind of fork lightning breath. It just arcs out and electrocutes all the pillars, and basically just almost turns some of the waterfall to glass. And because it's in a falling motion, the glass kind of falls and shatters, making even more of a racket. This cacophonous blast and shattering suddenly causes a few tremors in the distance. And
Uh-oh.
suddenly, bursting forth from the ground, shaking off all the sand, and looking with a very kind of groggy set of eyes is a young blue dragon. Shakes it off. Ah, there you are, Urian says. You were just sleeping after all. Wake up, sleepyheads. Unbecoming of a blue clutch of powerful blue dragons, after all. Suddenly, a swooping pair of wings lands and lets out a kind of breath of lightning, almost like coughing it up.
Oh, not him again.
Some of us have been waiting eagerly. I myself have not slept a wink. The anticipation was far too great. Ah, Tilrog. Well, I have sour news for you then, my friend, because there will be no war. And he begins to pull out the star sapphire and holds it aloft.
Too soon, friend.
Too
Stupid.
soon.
I'm watching Tilrog like a hawk, just like he tries anything. We've been off once before.
I was going to say, remember what happened last time?
I see you brought your friends with you.
Yes, just like you did when you attacked us.
What's up, pincushion?
I was defending my territory.
Despite an
And,
agreement being made with the leaders of your territory. Excellent.
And we weren't in your territory. We were in the middle of the desert.
As you say, his friends as well, you do see more shadows swooping in, landing one by one. They are indeed the same quartet of dragons that attacked you.
Does one of
They
them
have
still have a
recovered
massive
since.
hole in its wing?
They have since recovered, but there are some patchy areas still, like torn up, bits of missing scales, chipped horns, that kind of thing. But yeah, nonetheless, they have all landed and they're all still alive. Even the one that you just barely let live.
Right, well, we have a meeting to get to with your elders, so bye-bye.
We are here to witness that. We're the audience. And when you have an
Uh-huh.
audience, Blue Dragon, the whole family gets involved.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, moving on,
Okay.
shall we?
Then,
Step forward a little bit.
speaking of which, how is the family carrier?
Well,
Did you say your last goodbye?
that
He's
sounds
trying to goad you, just ignore.
that sounds like a threat, Tilrog. But as far as I'm aware, that decision isn't yours to make. So why don't we wait for the others and let them do the talking? Don't want to embarrass yourself again.
Embarrassed. Oh, there'll be no need for talking soon. And just as he kind of like steps forward, you can see his claws clenching the very edge of the cliff and leaning forward, almost threatening to breathe lightning down upon you, is when everyone feels the hair on the back of their heads prick up, standing on end, in fact, and a great static fills the room and air. And you see it's definitely focused and centered on the cave entrance. surge of a crackling lightning kind of booms out from it. Tirog, a little bit skittish, kind of suddenly steps back from the edge and like looks around towards it, sharpish, and Yuriyun begins to kind of go into a bow, and
Arius does as well. He knows his
Sam.
manners.
Sam.
okay.
I generally think we all probably do it. We
Yeah.
learned from the first time round.
All right. Says, Yuriyun says, Bromarath, the primeval, I, Yuriyun the magnetic, have returned. And I have great news. I wished for the lovely Lemekra to be here for it, though. So I'll await patiently until she arrives. But your presence here is heard, and we will honor your final decision in this matter. And one by one, more and more dragons do arrive over the course of the next 10 minutes. A few more young dragons come down, either bursting through the sand or swooping down from above. And finally, you start to see a massive pair of wings kind of shadow the entire area. And hovering down and finally kind of slamming into the canyon is Zionos, the transonic.
Ah, the smartsy one.
Mm-hmm.
One
He
with
looks-
the beard.
He does have a tremendous beard. His claw reaches up and begins stroking his chin hornlets.
I
And
literally
looks
just
over
hold up
on-
my new book that I've been translating.
Ah. Yes, I remember. You're the librarian. Show me what you have. Show me what you have penned so far.
Okay, well, if
Oh.
he's giving me permission, I'm gonna. How are you? Just plonk myself on the floor by his claws and just like lay down both the books.
Excellent work. You're quite the master with a quill, it seems.
I am a scribe. It was my first job at the library. You guys, I have the dragon's approval.
We have some time before procession begins. Let us review your work. And he begins examining and having you read some passages and
Pulls out a tiny pair of spectacles.
yeah, his hands
He wears
are.
glasses?
Oh no, I meant the dragon.
Oh.
He does have his claws kind of steepled, and he seems to be examining your work as you flick through the pages. And he does seem to be pleasantly surprised. Even like asked to see the cover again a second time. Which of course you put some extra money into to my fancy one. And he
It looks like
says,
loose
"How long
ends.
till it will be finished?"
How long until it's finished?
So you started this a little bit late, but you reckon you could
Well, to be
probably
fair, I
do.
started it the day we sort of made it to the left this place.
But you've only just got the fancy book for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So obviously the loose sheets that I had translated already, I had to transcribe into the book.
yeah. So it's been taking a little while to transcribe it in, but I will say though, there's a long history, and it's
Mm.
going to probably take another few days, maybe a week if you've got things you have to do during the meantime. So he says, "Excellent work, Irina. You're going to have to spread or placed in a library in Gaidia once it's finished.
Of course. That's the end plan. My first published historical work is on dragons. It's
Then
like
what?
someone who has like a thesis that they've worked years and years on and then finally got it published, you know.
Then all will know the majesty of the blue dragonflight here.
Right?
Yes. The Claude Coast sometimes takes their peace for granted. It's important to respect the other denizens, especially the ones who were here first. For the most part, the humans of Gaidia and the Genasi are tolerated. But we look forward to them knowing their neighbors a little bit more.
On
No.
friendly terms, of course. To build an even longer history for both our people.
He seems to agree with that statement and lets out a nod. And he says,
I don't know, his
Yeah.
phrasing was a bit.
yeah.
Is he being genuine?
He seems to
When he
approve
says,
of.
yeah.
It seems to approve of the. You can roll an insight check.
Good, my insight is actually. Eh.
It seems half and half. Like he he agrees with half the statement, which half you're not too sure, but he seems to nod either way. And also, in addition to that, he says, perhaps once this book is released, they might be willing to exchange some of their own information, their own science. And here they have great mages, wizards, and sorcerers in that place. I'd very much like to see how their progress has come.
I mean, I don't see why that wouldn't happen if amicable terms are reached in this meeting.
Speaking of which, Laverne, your alchemical studies,
Yes.
Bromera, the primeval, has requested something from you, if I recall. Have you managed to complete it?
I have been somewhat focused on the retrieval of the Star Sapphire.
Hmm.
However, from what Yuriyun tells me, there is an ingredient that I could possibly get here.
You feel a dusty breath of air pick up from the cave. And what is that?
Let me go back to it.
Is it the wyvern poison?
The wyvern venom, yes.
Yeah, wyvern venom.
And
Oh.
a need a something to be killed by a wyvern.
Well,
When the time
that
comes.
is probably the same avenue as acquiring the venom, surely.
Yes.
But there are wyverns here in the desert. We have defeated many as we've crossed over. I'll be surprised if there's any left, but... as he's saying this, Hero speaks up and says, Yes, there are still a few. We just culled their numbers.
Would there be a way of capturing one?
Capture.
I wasn't talking to Tilrog. I was talking to.
Yeah, I know, but he overhears the conversation regardless. He says, "Captured for how long?"
Well, if I'm bringing the alchemical brew here, then it will probably be the last things on my list that I come to collect.
You can see the Tyrrell kind of like turns his head to the side, like, "Wyverns are not an animal you can cage very easily."
But you're all mighty and powerful. I'm sure you can manage it. I then look at Tilrog at that one.
We don't. Zionar speaks and says, "We don't take prisoners here."
Pets?
He shakes his head.
Well, to be honest, you wouldn't necessarily have to bring it back alive. You just have, well, alive would be best, but bring it back like almost dead so that the venom glands haven't dried up, and then you should be able to extract the venom, right?
Well,
The best we can do is herd them in the
If-
time.
Yeah, if you could herd them into a specific location.
We can try. They are usually cave-dwelling creatures. Some of them are hiding within this canyon itself, but there are others further out. Either way, finding one is not the most difficult task.
Good to
But
know.
if you need it at a specific time, then
It is very time based, sadly.
mm,
A few of these are. So it's going to be a matter of collecting all the ones that aren't, and then
sounds
Very-
like you need. Sounds like you are in need of a particular magical item. Then a bag
Yeah.
of holding will definitely do the trick.
I'm sorry, a bag of what?
Something to keep the ingredients fresh. A bag
Yes.
of holding is a well-known item that allows you to store them.
That's like a bag of holding, but it preserves them.
Precisely.
It's a freezer box.
Just Llewellyn has like some sort of flashbacks after the saying of another type of bag of holding.
Yeah.
It's just like a what?
There's more. um, yes, it's not too difficult to find, but we ourselves don't possess one.
Hmm. Have you heard any word of where one may be?
Perhaps Guidia itself has more secrets for you to uncover, or perhaps there are other cities, wizards.
Yeah.
It's possible that compass might lead you to somewhere where there's one Llewellyn.
Yeah, I was thinking just the same.
Though, just out of a curiosity, so a bag of holding like links to the astral sea or whatever. Does a bag of holding link somewhere else, and that's why it's cold?
He thinks for a moment, raises a bony eyebrow, and says, perhaps it does. Perhaps it links to one of the 9 hells. The frozen ones, of course.
Oh yeah, I know about those. Might have to go there myself in the future, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. Or perhaps it leads into the elemental plane of water? I'm not sure. But
Oh, that's a place I'd definitely like to go. Wait, actually, Karish just pulls out his documentation on the planes, and it's like, is there a parallel elemental plane of ice?
there actually is. It's between water and wind, I believe.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be it, and I'm like, huh.
Is that one? Yeah, I think there is. So, I think so. Anyway, I'll have to double check. But
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm questioning it because it makes sense, but at the same time,
yeah, as you're talking about planes, you feel another kind of breeze in the air, and elegantly gliding in, swooping, doing a swooping somersault before landing on the cave's balcony, in between the two pillars. You see the female baroness of the sands, Lamekra. And as she kind of lands, she lets out a heavy sigh and says, if you're done talking about the planes and other magical nonsense, we can begin this final audience and determine whether, of course, your kind are worthy of keeping around. You speak of pets, and in a sort of strange way, we do keep pets. The ones on the Claude coasts are practically our little pets. And Urian says, well, I would call them a little bit more than that. Sounds belittling. They are marvelous creatures, in fact. They've accomplished so much in such a little span of time, and most notably, they accomplished finding this. And they kind of brings it out nonchalantly. Star Sapphire beams as the sun hits it, and kind of like sheds out this kind of blue light in and around the area. And a twinkling star sort of glints. And her eyes finally go wide and say, you found it. You've returned to me. I have. And she says, not you. The gem. Yes. He begins recounting the adventures, saying like how they plunged the fires of the elemental plane. They even won a grand tournament against other rivals, and she says, hand it to me. Urian says, but of course, my sweet. He begins transforming into a dragon and flies up there to meet her. And he kind of goes into sort of almost like a bow, almost like a proposal kind of pose, on like one knee, and then hands it up to her. She plucks it delicately between two claws, and as she does, she begins to transform into her humanoid form. Because her claws are way too large for this thing. The gem itself is only about like kind of like this big. It's not like a massive rock, just sort of like a pebble, one that would either be like a perfect size for a brooch or maybe a diadem, or maybe even a necklace. But nonetheless, she kind of inspects it. And she says, this is it. This is the real thing. I would recognize its glinting stars anywhere. And Urian says, of course, I would only get the real thing. You don't expect a cheap counterfeit. And I believe that these here, the Kia stars, are perhaps due some gratitude. She takes her time still inspecting it before actually addressing you guys. And she finally kind of gazes down to look upon the group. She sees your little wave, Kishan. Step forward, closer. I wish to remember the faces You all look so similar down there, tiny specks from above.
I look to
Hard to know which ones not to electrocute.
I mean, do you want me to come up so you can get a closer view? Just asking.
No. Just here is
Yeah.
good. And she kind of scorches out a small line across the sand.
Nah.
Are we not going to address the fact that she said which one's not to electrocute?
I'm guessing she means like when they're flying over, she'll make sure not to electrocute us because we helped, I guess.
That's still not
Okay, I'm
good.
more concerned about who she will electrocute.
Yeah, that's still not good, even if you put it that way.
I mean, true, but
You're says, but he also kind of picks up on this and says, "Oh, my queen, my dear, you do remember the bargain struck. Of course, we are to allow these mortals to continue eking out their existence in the Claude Coast. You see more and more dragons kind of landing almost in like a regiment. And you can see that there definitely is like at least an army of dragons assembled at this point. And she says, all the preparation I made. Even my sister gathered. And she kind of gestures towards that one over here. She's not really been introduced. But anyway, he says, am I to tell them all to simply go home? Many days' travel back into the western desert. They came
But you
here
could
all for
always
nothing.
all travel together to this new land that Zaf found. According to the villain, it's quite the home for your kind. The perfect place to raise children.
This home, as far as I was aware, is one of myth and legend. One yet to actually be proved that exists.
I mean, there are people there, so it's definitely there.
It's definitely true. And I believe last time I was here, I actually cast major image to show like large images of what it like looked like from above. I kept cycling through all the different images, so they've seen to an
I have
extent.
seen your parlor tricks, wizard. That does still not yet prove to me that it is real. You have irrefutable
So-
proof of this place.
Are we to assume then a blue dragon cannot keep its word? Because that's the vibe I'm getting here. We held up our end of the bargain so far.
This whole quest you gave us was a matter of trust. You
Did we
trusted us.
not just hand you the most valuable thing you've been after? And you're going to still go back on the deal?
She says, I have not made a single move against your kind, have I?
No,
storm
but
has
you
approached.
also... The way you're phrasing things suggests that you're going to do it anyway. Am I to just tell them to go home?
That is part of the preparation. And besides, I do not know if you're deceiving me or not yet. It could all be a ruse.
Why would we deceive you? What possible motive?
What
Because
do we have to
it is the-
gain?
It is the only strength your two-legged kind have. It is to try and lie your way
Alright,
out
I'll
of
just
a
have to
situation.
put this in the bottom of the history book then, that blue dragons try to weasel out of contracts they've made.
Zionar says, don't you dare stain our history with such
Well-
slander.
Well, then maybe stick to your word and we won't have a problem.
Oh no!
I'm just saying.
It is not her word to be the final one. Is it,
Right.
Lemekra? You may want war, but Bromerath is the final say.
And that's
Listen.
why I like this guy.
There's a lot of people who get by in life through lies and deceit. But there's people like us who get through with truth and honor.
And Tilrog says, well, it sounds like it's 2 against 2 for now, in terms of vote. And Xionos kind of just ignores his remark and says, despite Uriun's flattery, you are not yet a queen, more a princess in this regard. She looks absolutely mortified by this statement, like it's an absolute insult. And he says, the primeval is the final word. Let us hear what he has to say. And you see there is another kind of blast of static that booms out from the cave. And as it does, you see both the people on the actual, both Uriun and Lemekra are kind of like, not shoved off, but they seem to be sort of,
They're like pigeons when you get too close.
yeah, they are flustered enough. They do seem to kind of jump down, landing under the sand, and symbolically at the same height as you guys are. And they kind of look around. They don't seem to like having to, look at eye level with you guys. The Mecha has been looking down her nose the entire time she talks. But as this kind of blast of electricity does go off, Xionos seems to be nodding as if listening to something. Like there are words within each pulse of electricity. I see.
Arius is also going to try to understand these pulses. He probably can't, but he's going to try.
Okay. Yeah, it is a sort of primordial like speech.
Yep, which I do speak. I speak the storm. Or
The storm has spoken, and it says that no harm shall come to the Clawed Coast. In addition, they have further work that they are issued to complete, and Xionos seems to sort of nod. Of course. Llewellyn,
Yes.
well, to continue your work with this potion, Bromerath sees a great value in it. Should you return with a completed concoction, you will not just have a neutral alliance with us, but perhaps a friendly one.
That
Actual allies in the Blue Dragon.
is a very good alliance to have.
Indeed. Consider this a balancing of the favors. Consider this ordeal a start of a friendship. The first threads of trust have been sown this day.
I am literally basically keeping minutes of this situation, so that
Is
way
this-
I can add it to the end of the book.
Is this to say that the Clawed Coast is safe then?
You feel another kind of crackling from the
Because obviously I can't understand
Yeah.
what just went on.
yeah.
sure. This one seems to be a bit more prickly in nature, and you understand it, anyone who speaks Primordial, as for now.
Then Carius is going to speak up at this point and be like, does this also mean that we're not going to get ambushed by your young on our way out like last time?
Yes, I was also going to mention that. Would you have been aware of an unsanctioned attack upon us after we left?
There is another sparking, crackling that almost reaches out and kind of joins, almost connects up to this platform here. It's almost like kind of aimed and stretched in that way. And you see the 4 dragons kind of like looking a bit sheepish, looking side to side. And you feel that the primordial voice speaks out like a single word, Carius, and that is warning. As if that is their only warning.
Carius nods.
But yeah, you see all the other
Primeval is
dragons. Kind of,
wise.
you see all the other dragons
Exactly
are
right.
turned in the same direction, and they seem to be looking at Tilrog.
I flip him off behind my back.
Dinos says, "There you have it. Amaroth has spoken. There will be no war. The perfect storm will come, and it will pass." And at this sentence, Tilrog lets out a very loud scoff. And as he does, he literally breathes out sparking smoke from his mouth.
Carius
So
thinks
And-
for a moment and goes, may I perhaps make a suggestion?
You can make a suggestion.
Yeah.
But these 4 are actually lifting off. They're like
Yeah.
flapping their wings.
As at least some of your people here seem to have a lot of pent-up energy, and you do not trust that this new land exists, why not send them out to scout for it, to prove its existence and prove the truth in our words?
We're already leaving. And you see them flapping their wings heavily, like faster and faster, and they pick up, and they are already gone. And Xionos says,
Babies.
not staying for the entire procession either. They are walking on very fine eggshell. Which would also be a sin, because that would be killing our young.
They
I
wouldn't attack regardless of your warning, would they?
If they did, they would be exiled from our flock. And I'm sure at least one of us here knows exactly what that entailed. Yurian kind of looks around, like rolls his eyes. But anyway, Xynos says, Tilrog is clearly upset, but
He is young.
We
He
are-
will learn.
mm, it is unlike blue dragons to be brash. And they should heed the word of the primeval. But these young upstarts sometimes have a sparky
own.
personality.
Carius, it sounds like your brother.
Well, to be honest, I was thinking it sounds more like me when I was younger, and now my brother. I think we just must go through that.
You and Tilrog have nothing
No.
in common.
anyway.
Though,
So
I wonder, You said a sparky personality specifically, right?
Yes, there are occasional jolts, exceptions within the clutch.
You don't. I sort of look to Irina being the sort of scholarly type. You don't think this is anything to do with that spark that was in Captain Montipot, do you? Like that primordial need for destruction that was in him.
You mean the curse he thinks he has that isn't
Yeah.
really a curse?
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn to Zionog and just be like, have you ever heard of anything like this? Does this? And I'm gonna describe like the sort of the bad luck symptoms and things like that that Monty Pot obviously kind of explained to me. Does
I
that
have
sound
not.
like him?
I have not. But then there's a pulse of electricity from the deep cave. You even hear a scraping of a claw and a slight tremor to the earth, as perhaps it sounds like they may have just got up onto their legs, like onto their all fours. And though you try to see into the darkness, can't quite picture what is at the back there. But it does sound like they have kind of shifted and moved within there, like sand begins falling from the ceiling and the canyon walls. All the
I
other
get the
dragons in the flight
feeling,
hold their breath.
you know,
Xynos kind of says, Bromorath has heard such a thing. He is far older, more ancient than even us. And as this
can you
spark,
translate if he?
yes, he kind of listens. Peculiar. He is very ancient. His words are more vague than they have ever been. But Bromorath says he speaks of the spark of conflict, an element that is far older and even more ancient than he, an enduring force that has been here since the dawn of time. He says that it is not the only element that exists.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we face something similar-ish in the Temple of the Sun and Moon, where there was some sort of like chaotic energy there that we balanced, but there was still something, right? Like lightning creatures or something.
Yeah, you
No, this
quelled
this
it.
being is causing issues all over the joint.
Yes. Is it?
I think it was Andy that could actually speak to it, wasn't it? When she was in the astral plane.
That's right.
Yeah. I wonder if perhaps they're one and the same, but separated in a way, like they're a material component and an astral component to some extent.
Maybe if it's putting its like a portion of itself into people on the material, they're kind of like magnets. They're attracting chaos.
That is. Yes, and also for any creatures or such that are able to sense that power, or perhaps it's even calling out to those creatures because it seeks something stronger to take a hold of it than Captain Montipot. Like if, for example, that power was to take into the body of a blue dragon, for example, it would probably be able to cause far more destruction. And he did say that it seemed to attract things, particularly when he was on land, but I think even at sea to some extent, but not as much.
the other way around.
Was it?
Yeah,
thought,
he said
like,
that.
I thought
Uh,
that was why he very rarely docked, because...
Oh, sorry,
it-
no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, the other way
Yeah,
around. Yeah, no, correct.
yeah. But I think that was, from memory, was perhaps a misunderstanding of his. It was more the staying in one place that was the problem, whereas on the sea he's constantly moving. Whereas
Yes,
on the land
exactly.
he's in one place for a long time. Oh.
This is the first I have ever heard Bromarath speak of the spark of conflict. Sounds like something he would have brought up, being that we are a flight of blue dragon. But Bromarath holds many secrets at heart, until they are perhaps deemed necessary to bring up. And you hear another kind of tremor. Ah, my apologies. I correct myself. Until ones who are deemed worthy show up.
Hmm.
He raises an eyebrow and looks down at you all.
Then we are I cannot speak for everyone, though I'm sure I do in some way, but we are honored to have been considered worthy enough to have this information shared with us.
There is another spark that kind of crackles and zigzags out. And as it does, it gets closer and closer towards you, Kashan. To the point in which the rest of you either have to dodge out of the way or try to intercept it.
Kashan goes floop again.
Alex
Kashan,
gets ready to try to absorb part of it if it comes near him, because that is
The
what he would
lightning-
do.
does not strike you, but instead surrounds you and forms like that of a crackling ring. As it does, tiny little sparks seem to be kind of just glancing on the periphery, and it does look like Kashan has gone full like poof outwards. And it seems to be perhaps feeling you out. Like the lightning seems to be sensing you, everything in your body.
Why do I suspect that would tickle?
Oh, it does.
And Kashan, you feel as though you're like some sort of conductor for this. And as that passes, the lightning kind of subsides. And it says, again in primordial, from kind of booming cave, it says, "There is more than one." Xynos repeats this. The element of conflict is but one of many, apparently.
Then
How many?
As many as it needs to conflict with each other?
is it
Another surge of lightning sparks around you, Llewellyn. And most notably, you
Makes
see the lightning being absorbed, and not to you,
Oh.
but suddenly to your book. It's
Makes
pulled
sense.
in.
Yeah, I think I get where that's going.
Your
Looking at
book is an elemental
Llewellyn,
chaos?
looking at Llewellyn, does that seem to have particularly focused on the runes that are on the outside?
No, the runes aren't glowing or anything. It felt like the book kind of opened up, and the lightning got absorbed into the pages, and then disappeared.
I accept this. This is fine.
I
I'm
actually
concerned
glance at
about
the shop.
that response from Jamie.
Hmm.
Is that grin. I accept this. It's fine. What?
You hear a
gonna-
voice in the back of your head, Laverne, that says, "Ah, it seems as though I thought I had all the secrets. But it seems there are those old enough to remember."
Go on.
Intriguing.
Continue.
This being is old indeed.
Ah,
It speaks of the dawn of time.
Oh, God.
Perhaps it wasn't there, but it must have had information passed down, at the very least. It's good to see that I'm not alone in this knowledge.
Wait, how old are you?
I am a collective of minds, Levan.
Yes, but how long
I
have you
do
been
not-
collecting mines?
I am as old as the first mind that came across this. I'm as old as the first page scribe.
And who was the first page?
That name was taken from us.
Would that have been your name, technically?
No. No.
Hmm.
It was a name ripped out,
Oh.
a page torn from my memory.
So what is the oldest name that you do remember?
That would be Senrit.
So not that long ago. Yes.
We don't know how old Senrit is.
I don't. But I assume you do.
Yes, but he's not that old. Not in that body, at least.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, there's the age of a body, and then there's the age of a soul. They're vastly different things.
That's to say he's been transferring his soul from one to another?
Intentionally, not so much, but rather a product of this cycle that is stuck within him.
Oh.
And I believe he lost that name in one such cycle.
Interesting to know if we ever come across him again. And I snap out of my somewhat stasis as I'm sort of like, I'm probably just in ponder mode to everybody else
Yeah.
as I'm having this
I'm
conversation.
literally just poking Lavellum with a stick.
Yeah.
Irina, stop!
Like, I'm not gonna poke him with my hand. He's just had electricity running around him, so I'm just like
Yeah.
poking him with a
Oh.
stick.
Yeah.
On the matter of these islands that we have found that some here don't quite believe us on, what is Brummeroff's opinion on such matters? I say it as if I'm saying it outwards to Brummeroff.
Okay. Zionoth kind of nods and then crackles his own lightning into the cave, and a returning kind of echo of electricity fills the air, and it says, Zionoth speaks and says, Omoroth has given his blessing. You two are to be united in matrimony. All the other dragons kind of reach up and like let out a kind of surge of lightning themselves. And as this kind of Xynos, arcing lightning shoots from his horn and just fires out, kind of sparking and making almost like fireworks. And
I'm not gonna lie, for a minute, my brain, because it's not working properly, literally when you said you two, I thought it meant Lavelle and Kashan for a minute.
Yeah, I did think that
I was like,
too.
wait, what?
It's our secret. We've been in love the whole time.
Yeah.
My brain.
Yurian kind of steps forward. Lamekra does so as well, and they kind of hold hands, and lightning surges around their kind of hands, forming like that of a kind of like a chain, bonding the two. And as it continues like pulsing forward, Zionos says, "And this new continent is the perfect breeding ground, the beginnings of a new flight, a new club. These sands sound comforting to the eggs that you shall bore, and
Okay.
you shall bear. Go with Promorath's blessing, Uriun, the magnetic, the Mekra, Baroness of the Sand."
I would expect that Zaf, upon the next few weeks, would return with news of this island, and he would be able to show you the way. Probably the safest way to get there. He
The
may.
Mekra says, "And I wonder what kingdoms there are to conquer in this new land." And Uriun says, "Let us first have time to ourselves, yes? Think of this new place as a honeymoon destination,
I knew it.
not as a warpath." You can
I
see like a
imagine-
bead of sweat running down his head.
Though I would imagine if that there might be maybe not kingdoms, but other creatures, perhaps. I don't know.
Other monsters for you to show your might against.
Yes, there'll definitely be a way for you to prove that, as should be obvious, that you are the dominant species there.
The Mekra kind of laughs at the idea or the possibility of there being anything that could potentially stand up to her. She says, "Oh, don't worry. There will be plenty of dominance to be had." Yurion's like, "Excuse me?" "And I'm not waiting for Zaf to return. I'm going to find this place myself."
Llewellyn, do you have
And,
directions for them?
Yes. Yeah, Yurion's like, "Could you put it on a map at least?"
Would I be able to put it on a map?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So you kind of set out the necessary like details for him charting a course. Meanwhile, the Mekra begins gathering up a smaller flight of dragons as well. Basically, an entourage of guardians and servants, and you can see there's a lot of them. There's at least like 12 young dragons that form into kind of flight formation, and they begin like flying up into the air as an escort for the new queen, effectively.
As they do leave, I also say out like, would I be expected to return here to speak to Bromarath about the alchemic brew, or would I be to look for you at this new island?
Here, and Xynos says that at the same time. There's a pulse of lightning from the cave.
So Bromarath is to stay here. That is
Yes, I
good
think
to know.
Yes, from what they're saying, I think it's just Lamekra, Uriun, and the young ones who are going to start a new flight there. I imagine points to was it Vizanoth, the bearded one?
Xynos, yeah.
Xionos will probably be staying here, I guess, or are you going with them?
I shall. I will be staying here, as this is where I have chronicled our histories, and should you prove unsuccessful, Llewellyn, then I shall be taking the place of Bromerath. And there's another pulse of crackling lightning, and says, "But I do not believe he wishes that to happen." And you can hear the words, Carius. It says, "Do not fail me." And you
Yeah,
can definitely tell that is aimed at you, Llewellyn, but you don't know what it says.
Yeah.
It's just a crackling surge.
Carius just sort of leans over and goes, "Yeah, don't fuck this one up, mate. Just don't."
I won't.
All right.
But yeah.
Iridian turns and says, "My friends, you have given me the best stag do I could have hoped for. It was amazing. Checking out the casino, the nightlife, it was fantastic. Seeing the getting to go into an arena, fighting off the champions. It was a great time."
Yep. Well, if you ever want to come visit, you're more than welcome. Just, maybe don't come in full dragon form. That might terrify a few people.
Yeah.
And don't bring the family.
May I also ask, what brood were you originally from? And where did you come from? Just in case we end up that way, so we know what to avoid.
It was a distant land in the east. One that is sort of cut off from this place, which suited me far, far better. Keep traveling east. You'll eventually come across a strange bramble, a strange wall of forest, intertwining thorns. If you can make it through there without being cut, you might just make it into my world.
The last time I
in the
came through,
east?
yeah, the last time I came through something like that, I was in the Feywild.
Indeed. The Feywild is the divide.
You're a Feywild dragon?
No, I'm from
No,
the
he's
other
from
side.
beyond the Feywild.
That's what I mean.
Wait,
Beyond the hedge.
you're from beyond the hedge?
He nods.
Yeah, man.
Where do you think I get my
I need
charisma?
specific. I need specific coordinates now. You're not leaving with that.
Where do you think I get my charismatic streak? He says, "Now, let me explain. There is a divide. I came
Yes,
over
I'm aware.
just before that ley line was brought about. I have no idea what caused it, but it was the perfect opportunity to get away from repercussions, responsibilities, and such. But nonetheless, you probably won't be able to get there anytime soon, until that ley line's fixed."
What happened? Do you know what happened?
He shrugs. No,
Okay,
just that,
Do you know
What-
how
the
long
Feywild
ago it
did-
happened?
many years, but perhaps within. He kind of looks around the party. No, not within your lifetime, but at least in the last 100 or so years.
How far does it stretch? His ley line.
The whole way around.
Mm.
I can't tell you what happened, what caused it, but I know that it is. Think of it like a rift or a rupture. Something has dug up the earth and let the Feywild spew forth, forming like a barrier that splits the two worlds.
And there's no getting through it while it's like this.
Not whilst that barrier is up. Unless you have already been to that place and are able to plane shift. But even then, the Feywild might intercept your passage, your teleportation. But I've not tried to go back there myself. I have no interest of going back. But it's a mystery for the ages, certainly. No one's figured out how to fix an entire ley line. Not even the greatest wizards of my nation or yours. Something caused it. Consider that my final thank you, as you can do with this information as you wish.
I'm glad that in all the time that we had with you, now is where we decided to ask the hard-hitting questions.
You didn't want to get to know me, but
Well,
So
anyway, my past isn't something I normally like to talk about, but nonetheless.
It's
So
not
we've got-
polite to talk
Yeah.
about people's past unless they
No.
mention it first, to be fair.
I was far more interested in my bright future, and he turns to see the Mekra, who is currently in the middle of shape-shifting back into dragon form. Well, I think
you
it's
best
my
not
time
keep
to
her
leave.
waiting.
Precisely. Thank you very much, Kia Stars. You are my star sapphires. And he takes a short little bow.
That was
And,
really cheesy.
Your
As he
Kia.
bows, he folds over and transforms into a dragon and flaps his wings.
Enjoy the honeymoon.
And if things don't pan out quite the way they worked, tell Chad I'll drop in to see him at some point.
Fair enough.
Anyway, farewell, young ones.
I wanted him to say
I hope you all find love one day as well. It's an electrifying experience. And they begin to turn around and fly into the air. They do a few loop-de-loops.
Do a few barrel rolls, aileron rolls.
Which direction are they going?
They are heading southeast. Mostly south, though.
Just as they're leaving, the Velen goes, "Hey, can we hitch?" Oh God, they're gone.
Can we
It's-
walk?
Can we
Like-
hitch a ride?
Because that's where we need to go.
Oh, you wish to go there?
Well, I mean, you could drop us off like part of the way at least, because I guess.
I don't think we want a flight of dragons going over the clock. The panic that would ensue.
They're going to be going anyway.
Well,
They're kinda
but they're probably going to be using the perfect storm as cover.
Yeah.
That would be cool as hell to go through, right?
I will say they're heading more south than east, so they're not actually going straight
Oh.
towards your village, but they're heading south.
I mean, just thinking the world map, if they could just get us like south back towards like Raksha or Rashkar.
Unless
It's
unless we
possible.
turn-
The
unless we
question
turn-
really comes. Question is, do you want to go there now, or do you want to check out the wizard tower?
yeah, I
That's
forgot about that. I
Yeah,
forgot about that.
yeah, we could head towards the wizard tower from here.
You can
I was
do
think-
either one.
Yeah, because I was thinking of about telling Kashan's family, but then I completely forgot about the Wizard Tower.
Sean's family, they're here.
Parius is.
Excuse me.
I'm not the only one. I screw that up all the time. Okay. The dragonflight takes off into the air, and you're left with a much smaller clutch. There's about 3 young dragons. Her sister, who is definitely giving a farewell as well, and Ziona.
Quick, now's our time. We can take them. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you want to take on 2 adults,
No,
an ancient, and 3 young.
no,
Considering you got messed up by 4 young.
no, we didn't.
Yeah, well, clearly. Anyway,
They got messed up by us.
let's go for a quick break here as well. I think it's a good
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back. Just going to stretch our legs, get a drink. See you in a bit. we are back. And just to, because I'm sure you had many questions, Arena, I'll just, what's the word? Elaborate a little bit more. Because he said that it kind of goes all the way around. So he would have told you a very brief story. Yuriyun explains that when he crossed over, the barrier wasn't fully formed, but rather it was sort of in the process. He heard about a strange kind of divide happening amongst monsters and creatures and sought out the strange phenomena himself. When he passed over the land, he saw behind him, it still looked the same. And then a day later, going back to the same point, the world was completely different. Like the kingdom was just a totally different terrain and landmark. But then as he flew further south, he then swooped around and kind of went underneath the barrier, or rather like around it, and then found his kingdom again, and realized at this point that this divide was being slowly kind of traced around, like a line going from north to south day by day. And he used that to escape. And then after the divide was fully formed, he was free from the repercussions of his former clutch.
I
So
am
the-
just going to really, really quickly ask him before he goes, like obviously away from like the others. I'm just going to ask him if he's heard of Evermore.
He nods and lets out a smile, and yeah, kind of leans in to whisper and says, "It's nice that there is not a complete divide, that there are still some who know and remember."
Was it still standing when you left?
Standing, yes,
Okay.
of course. Though things were definitely getting a little heated when I left. But anyway, yeah. So that's just a little bit to elaborate on that.
Thank you.
But
Thank you. No, that's very good to know. Well, not good to know, but it's good to know that it's not my imagination, that it is there, that it was there. Good.
yeah,
Good.
it wasn't just a fairy tale in Irina's mind, which is what it's starting to become almost. And I'd like you to roll an Arcana check, Irina.
Arcana. Where are we? Arcana. Wow, that's bad for me. 10.
Okay. Yeah, to you, it felt like all just a fairy tale, a story that you'd been told when you were young that felt like it was real, but as you kind of grew older, started to maybe think, no, that was all just a story, right? That was all just made up. And maybe I thought it was real at that time, but then. And you're trying to figure out if there's any other effects that have that same effect. And with the 10, you're having a hard time trying to remember. And maybe that in of itself points to what kind of effect this is, magically speaking, which is why I made you roll an Arcana check. But you don't
I was
remember.
starting to think that my parents sending me to the library and maybe I had made it up as a child to get over, the rejection of my parents or something. But if it's real, then I know that's not true. So that's a comfort. So thank you for that.
But of course, no, it is very much real. Yes, of course. I was read the same storybook when I was young. But anyway,
I mean, there aren't any books. That's the problem I'm having.
true. True. Does feel like a fairy tale world. You would think that with all this news about the Shattered City being lost and all these trade routes being severed, that people would have had the same response to when the kingdoms were cut off from each other. But it seems as almost as if everyone just forgot.
Right. Locked it away and lost the key.
I'm not there for that
Hmm.
conversation.
All right. But yeah, then after
Yeah.
we'll jump back to the present, and you guys are left within the audience of dragons. Xionos is still here. Ah, got that.
So, by chance, have you seen some sort of tower north of here?
Power?
Tower?
What type? Tower.
Tower. Yeah.
Okay, let me roll his intelligence saving throw. I have, but it eludes me. Every time I have tried to seek this strange thing out, it is there one day and gone the next. Sometimes I have not found it at all. It is like it's like it chooses to be there when it wishes. I know of what you speak, however. A strange rock formation, except that it only appears as rocks for a moment or two. It is hard to describe. It has no form.
Yeah. That might
Form that I do not understand.
be our next little adventure. How far would you say that would be?
Judging by the map, you're actually not that far.
And
Go ahead.
is there a way through this canyon that you live in, mountains that could lead us in that sort of direction?
You could travel atop the canyon, or if you have ways of flight, that would make things much easier.
Probably.
And you're forgetting we have an airship.
Well, except that the tower's there, the airship's all the way over here. We'd have to
Yeah.
go quite far to get the airship, then come back.
I mean, like, we probably should tell your family that it's safe anyway, right?
That is true, but to be honest,
Let them know we're still alive. We've not been eaten by dragons.
again, that's true. And
I feel like they would know they're safe when the storm passes and they're still alive.
yeah, but then
Okay,
they can
but
be
the
panicked for the
anxiety
entire
attacks
storm.
leading up.
Well, we could head there, get the airship, and then
Yeah.
But then
You're about half a day's journey from this tower. Or, if you wish to return to Riley Port, it's about a day's journey.
day's journey there, then probably less than a day back because of the airship.
At full
When
throttle.
will the storm hit?
Oh yeah, we
That's
don't
the
want to
big
be
question.
coming back in the storm.
Or heading to port in the storm.
So, at this point, it's hard to judge exactly when the storm is going to hit. It is imminent, but it is. When you last saw it from Gaidia, it was across the sea, like looming closer and closer, but it hadn't yet hit. So you can expect it to be any day now, like either today, like tonight, or tomorrow. It would be one of either.
So good news and bad news. The lightning might strike our airship. The good news is it's not going anywhere because an immovable rod is holding it in place.
Yeah, but then it could just be potentially a big fire in the air if it gets set on fire. It's high up.
It's,
Huh.
it's a magical airship. It should be safe.
Well, you know, it could also go above clouds as well, which is where you kind of left it, right?
That's
Yeah.
true.
You
We
left it above the cloud level
Uh,
because you
But
didn't want it to be seen.
but cloud level and cloud level is different. Like cumulonimbus clouds, I think,
Yeah.
which are the storm clouds generally higher up than some clouds. So
I thought they'd be heavy, so they'd be like lower.
They're lower down, aren't they?
are they? I can never remember which way it is, but
I
yeah.
imagine
They're
if they're
heavier.
heavy,
It's more water, so they're lower down.
that's what I imagined.
That's why it
Oh.
always feels so like enclosed when there's a storm brewing.
So it should be good either way. It just depends what we want to do.
Yeah. What do you guys want to do? Let's have a little vote. Do you want to check
This
out
half
the
a day's
tower?
travel, is that by foot or by air?
That is by the dragon's flight,
We could
as
do
the
that.
dragon flies.
Okay, well that's... Is that you offering us a lift? Or...
I can perhaps get you close, but
That's good enough for me.
I don't like getting close to that thing. It is
It's fine.
strange and unnatural. Many of my young flight have reported strange migraines and losing the capability to fly when they got close, dropping out of the air. A few very dangerous injuries were inflicted as they hit the sides of mountains, almost like they went brain dead in the air.
Ooh.
And that's unusual. We've not ever come across such a phenomenon.
I mean,
Phenomena.
at this point,
Phenomenon.
the whole world seems to be full of phenomenas.
Well,
Please stop.
it is a strange time. What with the shattered city, I imagine magic has taken a strange turn.
Definitely, definitely. So
Hence why I wish to learn about what Gaidia has done in discovering it.
Oh, they're going to be sending a crack team to go into the shattered city. Very professional team.
Gonna roll an insight check. Ah, very good. I eagerly await their report. Now,
I love that.
where do you wish to go? I can either fly you close to the tower, or I can perhaps take you some of the way towards Riley Port.
And do we want to get straight into something that might take a while, or do we want... Well, I suppose we've had a fairly chill few days, so we could just go straight to the tower.
I think, like, at the end of the day, Carius, it's whether you want to notify your family or not. I think it's your decision here.
That is true. That is true. This is where I wish I was a higher level cleric, so I
Yeah.
knew how to send messages.
I
My-
mean, do you, amongst your people, have someone who can send a message? Do you have, like, a messenger burb?
I could do that.
I mean, I could technically, I suppose, I could send Taklo. I mean,
You could do that.
You could send Tackler, yeah.
it would take him a while, and there's no guarantee he'd get there. You know what? To be honest, we should probably check up on the airship anyway. It's been there a while, and remember, we did send Griffin Riders down there as well to keep an eye on things just in case. So, if we can get back to Riley Port, that would then I can at least let them know, and perhaps I can speak to my father, because if he was trained by this wizard, then perhaps he'll have information on how to get into the tower.
Smart.
Right, so if you could get us even as far as Rashkar or near there, perhaps just north of Rashkar, so they don't see a dragon. That'd be ideal.
That's why I was going to say I can take you some of the way.
Yeah, if you could take us some of the way, and then we'll make our own way the rest.
Can I look at the compass?
Yes, you can.
Does the ticking part of it, does it, because it's been another day now, does it look like it is slowing down even
Okay.
though it's going backwards?
You pull out the compass, and immediately it kind of springs open suddenly, and you see all the bolts converge, and they are pointing all directly towards the west. And you can feel the compass kind of thrumming, like almost like it's this kind of like a inner core of power that's like pulsing from it. The ticking, you want to inspect if it's kind of going slower. It is, and you see it kind of going tick, 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 and it is slowing down, and then finally it stops. And at the moment it stops, is when you see all of the coordinates kind of like lock, and the bolts of lightning stop sort of streaking from it.
I hate to say this, guys, but there's a
Well-
possibility we might miss our opportunity if we went.
This
opposite
Terrig's
way.
a wizard, right?
Yes.
Then he can potentially send a message. So if we head there, we can hopefully, or maybe he'll have a scroll and then we can send it.
But we could. I mean, if you don't want to tackle going, then I could send my familiar instead as a just in case.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. I'll write down a message on a scroll because obviously you won't be able to talk through your familiar once it gets
Yeah.
there.
I just know
Condition.
at some point this tower was in Midra, so it doesn't necessarily stay in place. If we
Yeah.
miss this opportunity, it could be anywhere next.
Yeah,
All right, then we go to the tower
the
then.
tower.
Very well.
Yeah.
I shall take you where I last saw it, but I cannot assure you that it is there. Nonetheless, climb aboard my wings. Shall take you in.
Yeah, Karis will hop aboard his glaive.
How
Okay.
How big is this
Dragon
one?
Riders at this point.
Yeah. How big is this one in comparison to Yuriun?
Uriun is slightly smaller than Xionos,
This is
but they are both technically adult dragons, but one is just hundreds of years. There's such a big gap when you get to adult. From ancient to adult can be hundreds of years. So
Yeah.
he is definitely bigger, but he's not
So
completely
he's like an
like
elder adult sort of thing.
exactly a more older adult. Exactly.
I'm just
You got
more
young adult, and then old adult, and then you finally got ancient. But it takes a long time to kind of reach the status of ancient.
I'm just more
Um,
excited to be on an even bigger dragon.
This one
Yeah.
is
I'm literally gonna sit by his head and just talk history with him, like all the way there, just like, as I'm reading through the book.
as you kind of sit in the head. There's like you're nestled in between these tiny horns, which you can like actually hold on to, lean back on. Uriuns were much more flat and like crocodilian-like scales, whereas Xionos has these kind of barbs everywhere, and yeah, it's almost like a forest of scales and horns atop his back. Okay, let me just.
Like that time I sat on a hedgehog.
I cannot say it's very comfortable.
At least it wasn't a porcupine.
Porcupine. Oof. All right. So as he flies you over, it does take. Oh my god, yeah, he is bigger. I will say, he is bigger, much bigger, but not like impossibly big. But he's enough to carry all of you quite easily. As he flies you towards the supposed tower, I'd like everyone to either make a perception check if you want to look for it. Advantage if you have the spyglass.
Advantage.
Okay.
And Andy? Perception?
Nice.
Not the greatest.
No, not the greatest. And if you remember, you got a.
Damn.
You
Sorry.
got
Wow,
a.
that's the lowest you've ever rolled.
It's the
Yeah.
lowest I can roll.
Okay. It is hard to spot, but I will say with the 22 irony, you definitely recognize the same mountain formation that you spotted when you flew over the first time towards the Rattling Ruin. And it doesn't look like Bomarath is heading in that direction. You can correct him if you want. Oh, sorry, not Bomarath. Sayana. Why does it say Prime Mother on him? Let me just go to that. Change that. It'd be Sayana. Oh, there he is.
Would I get advantage because I'm using the compass as to where I need to look?
Yeah, you can. This isn't rather to do with perception. You know that the compass is locked on.
I
You
know.
can sense the direction.
Yeah,
It doesn't tell you distance.
I know. It's okay.
Let me get rid of that. There's okay. Elvis jamming. All right. Okay, so you're getting closer, but you kind of have to correct Xionos on his route. He says, "Oh, this way then," and he changes his directory towards it. But it's at this point, as you're approaching, you're perhaps only a few miles out from when you last saw. Everyone starts to hear this loud, grinding sound. And it's faint at first. It does start to get louder and louder.
Maybe we
Yeah.
should land here and follow the compass from there.
Yeah, we don't want to put you in any more danger.
Urian's already like kind of still flying forward. He hasn't spoke for a while. This grinding sound
He's
goes
not
on.
Urian.
I know,
I mean, you're-
he must be going
That's
crazy.
Xionos even. And for a moment, you see that he hasn't flapped his wings in a while either.
Oh,
I'm gonna speak in Draconic and just kind of give his horns like a little hug and just be like, wakey wakey. I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna try to sort of nudge him, like, you know,
You're basically trying to drive a dragon.
drive the dragon. But like, you know when elephants are like babies and then their parent will tap behind the ear depending on which way they want them to turn.
It's
Okay.
how, of course, circus has got them move, isn't it? That you tap them behind the ear.
You begin to try and tap him more aggressively. Try to like get his attention. He is still just not flapping his wings. You start to see him list to one side, and his head is. You can see as you look down towards him, there is, because you're like tapping him on like the head and the ears. You actually see there is small trickle of blood coming down his ears.
Okay, considering the sort of noise and things like that and wizard potential curse.
yeah, I was thinking potential magical effect. So if you're going to do remove curse, I'll do dispel magic.
And I'll stand
just need
here
to check.
looking awesome.
I imagine we both say this to each other as well.
I've just got to check. Remove curse. Yeah, it's instantaneous, so I can do that. I'm literally just kind of like holding onto the horn, just like, yeah! And I'm gonna cast remove curse.
I'm going to cast
Okay.
dispel magic.
Okay, Llewellyn, roll me an intelligence check.
Cool.
As you cast Remove Curse, nothing seems to be changing. You only see that he's beginning to take a slower descent, and he gets further and further towards like a large mountain is like looming in the distance,
Okay.
and like he's
This
going to
seems
collide to it. He's going to collide being on that
not good,
mountain.
not good, not good.
What did you get there, Laverne? 13. You try to dispel the magic. If there was a magical effect on them, you hope that it was dispelled. But what you do here, as you're getting closer and closer towards that mountainside, is that grinding sound gets louder, and you start to hear it interlocking, like in amongst the rumbles. You hear like a chkum, 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 chkum. And if you guys either don't do anything, you're going to collide with the mountainside. And I know you tried already, but it doesn't seem like you can dispel whatever effect is on them.
Okay,
just sort of
where
seems
is
to
the
be-
sound coming from? Can I pinpoint?
Can we plug his
It
ear
is almost
holes?
all around you. It sounds like it's in your head. And as you guys get that close, I need everyone else to also roll an intelligence saving throw.
Saving throw, so that includes me as well, I'm guessing.
Everyone roll an intelligence saving throw.
Ah, yes. Excellent.
Oh, God.
Oh boy.
I'm good at those.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. Irina, Llewellyn, and I need one more from Andy. There we go.
She was just doing it.
Okay. Everyone but Irina and Llewellyn, you are going to suffer
Oh, no.
14 points of psychic damage, as this grinding sound isn't just grinding in the ears, it seems to be grinding down your mind. Like it feels like your brain is being like turned over. It feels like there's someone's taken it and is like sawing it down or sanding it down. And as that happens, your consciousness is sort of fluttering in and out. You are all stunned. And Irina and Llewellyn, you're the only ones who are able to kind of barely contain the cacophonous grinding sound in your head and try to like mentally put it into like in the back of your head whilst you're trying to concentrate. Everyone, you see, Lucarius falls from the glaive.
Oh, God.
What do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do? What do we do?
He is falling. And so is everyone else. Well, you're still kind of gliding down towards this mountainside. You see this huge canyon you're about to collide into it.
Okay, I don't know. Can we figure out really, really quickly what the hell this is?
So, I'm trying to think here. Kashan... Have I ever seen Kashan do his monk stuff where he can, like, fall without taking damage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to cast Featherfall on all of us except Kashan.
Okay.
Because at this point, we
Dragon
must,
as well, yeah.
yeah, at this point we must be getting close to like lower altitudes.
Yes.
So I would think that Kashan would be able to survive this. Then I've seen him fall from great heights without issue.
Okay. Let's hope he can overcome it before he hits the floor. Everyone
Oh,
else feels
no.
their body become lighter.
I didn't think about it. You stunned. No,
He's stunned. Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Xionos goes towards the cliff edge or the canyon edge, and then finally like collapses into it, but he doesn't slam into it. Rather, his wings kind of enfold it, and he kind of like holds on. He's almost like snoozing on the side of the edge. One claw like firmly dug in, the others on his back legs are sort of dangling off the edge of the canyon wall. The rest of you guys feel the impact like very softened. Carius, your glaive is sort of still hovering there for a moment, and your body also falls deep into the canyon, but you do come to a soft landing rather than a smash and turn into pulp.
Okay, can I do a thing to potentially save Kashan?
Yeah, go
It's
ahead.
it's going to hurt
Fully.
him, but I'm going to fire an Eldritch Blast at him and then use Grasp of Hadar to pull him 10 feet towards me so I can grab hold of him.
I just want to
Sure, roll a hit.
Is that a
He's
grapple?
got a
effect?
cloak of displacement, but
Would
I'll say
I-
you got flat roll.
Would I technically be grappled?
I'm
No,
just
you'd just be
checking.
pulled.
Oh, okay.
You're just stunned
Yeah,
at
it
the
just
moment.
pulls you towards me. It doesn't hold on to you.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Roll a single attack. That's a hit. You pull him towards you, but now you have the
You-
awkward
You
situation.
take 1 point of damage.
Pretty good.
It's the lightest pull. The smoke just sort of like yanks you. It's just a bit of whiplash. Oh god, he took 91 damage.
91.
Oh god. Because
There we go.
Arena, you've now got the option. Instead of falling lightly yourself, you can try to like share the fall with Kashan, because he is still a heavy weight and he's still gonna hit the floor heavily.
I am going to use my last spell slot to dimension door us to the floor. Once I've got hold of him.
Okay. Dimension
Or
door
to at
will
least a
teleport
safe
you.
spot.
It will teleport you, but you conserve momentum even whilst teleporting. So you don't teleport at rest.
Okay, I find a soft landing spot.
Okay. I'll tell you what then. Roll me an acrobatics check, Irina, as part of this dimension door, yanking him through. We'll see if you can find maybe somewhere that might soften the land.
Hey,
Acrobatics.
Yes, please.
while we're making stupid decisions, why don't you try and
No.
teleport onto the barbed dragon?
Well, he is not a soft landing, that's for sure. Okay, Irina, you tumble with Kashan in the air, and as you're flying around, you're trying to see like a softer landing, and you orientate yourself at an angle, and you see the cliff edge. One of them is actually very slanted and steep, but it's not a sheer drop. And as you teleport towards that, you also see at the bottom of it there is a large like buildup of sand. It's one of these waterfalls of sand that has kind of like gone down the side, and as you hit the side of the wall, you're kind of going down a slide effectively, which is going to soften the blow and like ease your landing. And rather than taking full damage, you can take this and then halve it again. So 20, what was it, 20d6? So look. So
20d6 is the maximum full damage
you can take half of, what's that, 35?
Good old terminal velocity.
But
A part of me is thinking that this is just payback for all the times that Kashan has hit Llewellyn and stunned him. A part of me is
37,
like,
and then I'm going to halve it again, thanks to the feather fall, because you're still sort of feather falling. So effectively, you and Kashan have taken 16 points of bludgeoning damage each.
it's not that bad.
So it's divided. So you halve that. You halve it as you slide down the sandy bank, impacting into the heavy like pile of sand. You do take a few chips and bumps along the way down, but it's the smoothest rock surface you could find in that split-second moment. And
So literally the last
you-
thing I heard was Llewellyn say, "Oh, it's okay. Kashan can can slow fall." Oh wait, he's done.
Yeah, it's like I saw this happen and I was like, I'll just feather fall us, and I chose the people. And it's like, it's fine. Kashan can slow fall himself, and I turned around to see you just stood there still. I'm just like, oops.
Yeah.
the
Carius
end
just
of it
got,
rumbling. Oh god.
yeah. Carius, when like he sort of hit the ground, will just sort of call out the command word for his glaive to come down to him and just be like, ugh.
Okay. After about a minute of this constant grinding, it finally there's this deep booming sound, almost as if it kind of got higher to lower, both in the sense of it sounded high and then went low. It even sounded like in your brain it was like going down deeper into your body. And after about a minute after that as well is when Xionos is like shaking his head from side to side, his big scaly beard wafts, and he suddenly like scrambles on the edge of the canyon, getting a better grip. Is everyone all right back there?
Don't worry, we got you, buddy.
I'm going to kill it.
I warned you of
Awesome.
this. I think we've flown a bit too close. nonetheless, you're alive and well.
Don't know, I would rather be dead right now. My head is spitting.
As I've said, that grinding sound is what prevents us from really further investigating this. I cannot take you any further.
That's fine. You've done as much as you can, and we appreciate it.
Very well. I wish you the best of luck. And if this really is inhabited by a wizard, then bring me back some of his science. I wish to know exactly how he's created such a strange tower, even in the midst of a dragon flight. Quite bold of him. He begins like scrambling away. It's like, I think I might just walk the rest back.
If you see any wyverns, don't.
Don't kill them.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, he heads back to the Mirage Mountains, and you guys are left close, very close. You think you're about maybe a few miles out from it. I'll just pop you there.
Kashan, what happened? I thought you could slow
You were
yourself down.
born.
He misses. You can...
Gonna end soon, but let's just get a little bit more
Stop.
down. Get you closer.
Stop.
Stop smacking.
All right, that's enough.
Okay.
You stupid.
All right.
You're
As you
alive.
guys
That's
get-
all that matters.
Yes, thank you.
Kishan, you're covered in sand everywhere. In between every bit of tuft of fur, there is sand.
I'm gonna be
Sand pulled out your ear.
shaking the entire way.
Hopefully, you wear quite a lot of loose clothing, so you kind of just take yourself, and then most of it comes out.
Yeah, Carrius in his armor, on the other hand, is just like.
Yeah, it's a gritty, horrible, uncomfortable trek the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
although
this is
you've
why I
been
don't wear
dropped off,
shoes anymore.
I don't wear shoes in the desert. It's just not worth.
Just take a shoe off and just tip out a desert in itself.
Now, although you've been dropped off in the middle of the canyon, and Irina, as you kind of look around, you realize that massive sandbank wasn't just a sandy waterfall, but looking around, pot marked in the ground are more of those antlion nests. And you realize you accidentally just going to landed into one of them, but there's no attack. There's no danger that suddenly bursts from the ground. In fact, it's quiet. And you think that the only saving grace was that perhaps this grinding sound also made them either stunned at the same time, or they made a nest here and then realized how much of a nuisance the noise pollution is, and then up and left. But either way, for the most part, although you're in the middle of the canyon, you don't see much wildlife. There's no lizards crawling across the ground. There's no snakes perched high on the canyon walls. They are just a barren canyon as you approach.
I have a question. The grinding sound, did it sound natural or did it sound metallic?
It sounded definitely like earth and rock and stone, but it sounded like it permeated into your mind at the same time. So I would like, Irina, if you want, roll an intelligence check.
Just straight
Because-
intelligence.
Yeah, straight intelligence.
21.
Okay. Your best guess is that it was made to simulate rock, but rather it possibly could have been something else entirely, something unknowable. and you think at first metal is the best like go-to, but it was even more otherworldly than that. As you were the only one hearing it for the full duration. Everyone else kind of passed out. Maybe Llewellyn did as well, but he was busy casting a spell, and you were hearing it the whole way through, and it did sound like kind of reverberated in and out, shifted, turned, inverted. It was a mind-boggling sensation. And as you come to this realization, it's gonna suck, but I'm gonna give you the old 4d4 treatment. You take 11 more psychic damage as you come to the realization that it's not possible to even make that sound. It's a sound that it shouldn't be in reality itself. It's like it's indescribable, whatever it was. But you heard it on a different level to the others. You heard it on a different pitch. And just knowing that fact actually hurts your mind. Okay, I got
Oh
2
yeah,
minutes.
there's a wizard living here somewhere.
Okay.
It hurts my brain already.
As you draw closer, navigating this maze-like canyon, Velen, the compass still has locked on to this coordinate, and you turn a corner. It forks again. The compass quickly directs you to which one to go. And it's almost like it's not just pointing the direction, but rather guiding you directly to it. It's like it knows the passageway through here.
Ooh.
An hour of traversing this canyon passes. Your progress is slowed dramatically because you were flying through the air. You could have got there within maybe another 10 minutes, but now you're on foot. The winding canyon passageways chew through the time. And at the end of the next hour, you hear the grinding begin again, getting louder and louder. And I need everyone to once again roll me an intelligence saving throw.
We'll have to go to bed after this.
Yeah, same.
Yep.
Did I make it this time?
By the way,
No,
Kashan,
just
Kashan,
under, my friend.
you actually hit me earlier, or was it you just taking the piss?
Oh, wow, does anyone pass this time?
Before I
No.
rolled, Chris?
No,
No.
I was taking the piss.
Okay. Just so I know.
Yeah, no, I'm not that mean.
Okay.
Intelligence saving.
Oh boy.
Let me actually roll that because for some reason, there you go.
Sorry, I just remembered. Andy should have also taken the psychic damage last time.
He's done it on
forgot
her
to
other
mention
sheet.
that.
It's because I can't math.
Okay. It was
Because
only
I've got
14,
it up
I
on
think.
D&D Beyond, so I
Okay.
keep tally on there.
I saw numbers
Alright.
and was just like, no, I'm not doing that today.
This time it's louder and a lot worse than it was last time. Sounds like it's right in front of you. And everyone, I think, except Llewellyn.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
both talking to my book and focused on the compass that much that I probably barely hear it.
Okay. Everyone, you start to feel a migraine right at the front of your mind. It's almost like a burning sensation, pulsing. It feels like everything in your head is just spinning around. Llewellyn, you look toward your allies. You see nosebleeds from every one of their faces, as well as like blood trickling down Kashan's ears.
Do we?
22 points of psychic to everyone, and everyone, after a moment or two, kind of like stumbling forward, they collapse onto the ground. And Llewellyn, you're the only one still standing, conscious, and I think that's where we're going to end tonight's session, as you all basically black out from this horrible grinding sound.
I was gonna say, at this point, seeing them all like that, I'd probably cast the mansion and drag them all in.
Okay. Well, we can pick up back in the mansion afterwards. But, yeah. That was nasty, whatever it is. Okay. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. This otherworldly wizard tower has clearly got some defense mechanisms in place. Maybe it's that, or maybe it's just a byproduct of whatever strange machinations this place holds. We will see you next week, hopefully, and also tune in on Sunday for Baba Yaga's Dancing Hut. They finally saved Senrith and brought him restored balance. And we'll see where they have to go next. If they can finally find a gap within the hut. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. See you then. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.